Good afternoon, everyone. This is Jared Rand, and welcome to the Global Guided Meditation Call for Saturday, October 22, 2022, a little after 3 p.m. Eastern. As A Course in Miracles suggests, your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all of the barriers within yourself that you have built against it. All of us experience a certain level of consciousness with everyone we are relating to. Now, even though we may wear a different egoic mask when we are relating to our lover, compared with our parent or boss, we still are operating from the same base level of consciousness. You could say a light within you is emanating onto everyone in your world through your eyes, passing through a certain filter, depending on who you're with, and this same light shines on everyone, everywhere, wherever you go. If and when you have a good relationship with your boss, the filter in your mind shines positive particles of that light onto everything your boss says and does. If you have a bad relationship with your boss, your mind interprets everything they say and do through your negative filter. Remove the filter, and you will see clearly through the light of pure consciousness what is really going on. Being clear of filters, you begin accessing a higher state of consciousness, which starts to manifest the greatest wealth any human being could ever wish for. A true 5D experience of life. Perspective is everything on the path to enlightenment. Our reality changes us as we expand our way of seeing others and ourselves. And this gives us the inner space to raise our consciousness. If we wanted to see the bigger picture on everything, where would we look from? From the bottom of the darkest dismal ocean, from the top of a mountain, or from looking at it from the moon? Changing perspective shifts everything, and it is the essential missing component if you want to start manifesting that higher consciousness with any human being in your life. I have witnessed where healers and spiritual people, dedicated, devoted to helping and healing others, through natural applications, all of a sudden fall into the dark side. They're just, something happens in the ego mind, and they shift into this path. And the ego mind devours them. It's a very not a pleasant thing to view. You can quickly change your perspective in any relationship by tweaking your listening. When you shift how you are listening to people, your mind begins to interpret what they are saying in a different context. Meaning, you could play with listening to what they're saying from their ego's perspective, from what their mom and dad or family would think about what they are saying, from a harder judgmental opinion in your own head, or even perhaps from the mind of an angel or a saint. Playing with your listening breaks you free from patterns that the mind gets caught in over time. Often, we do not know that we are in these mental habits that continuously repeat. So I invite you to choose to play with this over the month. Try to listen to everyone every day as if you were hearing their words from a saint's ears or from the higher 5D perspective. How would they interpret and even respond to their words and way of functioning in this life? Playing with perspective makes the entire ride worthwhile. Stop all physical activity. Sit naturally at ease. Do not talk or speak. Let sound be empty, like an echo. Do not think about anything. Look at experience beyond thought. Your body has no core, hollow like bamboo. Your mind goes beyond thought, open like space. Let go of control and rest right there. Talapa. The fifth dimension is the portal to experience life, experiencing life, as if you were inside the heart of God. The heart of God is the center of the infinite universe, where you are sitting right now. You are in the center of this infinite playground that is all around you. When you get centered in infinity, the highest consciousness and the purest love pours through you, and this power follows you everywhere you go. There is no fear, no need, greed, or lack of any more in your life. When you access this heavenly place, it has a power that can produce miracles. It is as if the highest level of heaven we could achieve on earth becomes available to our soul. We clearly see our highest purpose for being here now. When we meet another human being from this 5D connection, they begin to change and start to speak to us, treat us, and look at us as if we are the living embodiment of the divine. We can connect with others in life, in this life, on the deepest emotional levels because there is nothing to fear anymore. The ego personality falls away, and only the love from the infinite soul pours on through. 5D consciousness becomes your everyday way of seeing this entire world. And you start to integrate a more empowering, loving, and heart-based connection with everyone. This is the new earth. This highest consciousness and purest love are available within you right now. Yet you probably cannot experience it all the time because the ego mind gets in the way. It is just so ironic. The fish swimming in the ocean is so thirsty. This highest consciousness is at the core of every atom inside you, inside us all. Every atom in this universe is guided by it. This great love is guiding everything in this wild, crazy world. We might think it was fear or greed, yet the divine power of love is actually behind it all. It is only the thick-headed belief systems of the ego mind that are blocking the way. If you want the secret to increasing your vibration right now and access the highest level of consciousness on this planet, practice this ritual every day. The moment you wake up in the morning, make the commitment all day long to always love yourself. Make the commitment all day long to always love yourself. Whatever you focus on grows. And when your love for you exceeds the ego's limiting beliefs about you, you will fall into the heart of divinity. If you have trouble feeling a deep, real love for yourself, start with remembering someone in your life who loved you. Roll back the movie frame by frame until you feel their heart and can see their smiling face. Open up and let that love inside you now. This will help get the rusty self-love wheel moving. When you can love deeply and eternally, you can reach the highest 5D consciousness. The level of love you have for yourself is exactly the amount of love you have to give your children, friends, and family. Remember that. The level of love you have for yourself is exactly the amount of love you have to give your children, friends, and family. When you hate yourself, you have nothing to give anyone, and you hide away in the emotional cellar. When you honor yourself, appreciating the good and bad aspects of who you are, accepting your faults and weaknesses as an essential part of being human, you start to create a more loving relationship with and open a doorway to a more enlightened consciousness. Consciousness can only observe what undergoes change. That which is eternal cannot be observed by the consciousness or known by it. Unless you meditate on this point, the puzzle will not be solved. Nisargadatta. Now, wouldn't it be nice if we could not eat food and breathe in the energy from the atmosphere? And remember, 1 cubic meter of space has enough energy in it to boil the oceans on this planet, all the oceans. But right now what we do is we consume food, mostly the wrong food, and the body takes the energy, what energy it can get out of the food, to power itself. So believe it or not, when your intestines are clean, your mind becomes silent and clear. Then there is nothing you will find but love inside yourself. Every negativity you thought you had will be gone. You will only feel a connection with yourself that is a doorway to enter the divine. If you desire love, try to realize that the only way to get love is by giving love. That the more you give, the more you get. Stranger by the river. Many people spend a lifetime trying to find a relationship that will satisfy this outer need for love without realizing that the love they seek is already within. The abundance of love that we seek is already found within the consciousness that we are, that permeates every atom of this universe. If you don't do anything different and simply believe in a fearful world, accepting that there is not enough love available inside you, you will continue to manifest a life that presents a sense of scarcity, fear, or lack in your connection. That will be your life experience. There's nothing wrong with this, just as there is nothing wrong with stepping in a pile of dung every day. It's just, why would you choose to have this as your everyday normal human experience? If, on the other hand, you want to be free from your pain and experience that deep down inside that there is an infinite supply of love at your disposal, then you will need to release the mucoid muck you're carrying, and this will make your every human connection you have been filled to the brim with a satisfying intimacy, guaranteed. I think we have all gone down the path many times of overeating, clogging up our intestinal tracts, being pulled down the negative emotional path, and having to cleanse it all out again. And then those experiences may lead you so you would realize how much easier it was to live in a body that was clean. And this allows you to easily access a state of pure consciousness because your mind was naturally quiet and at ease. When your mind is quiet, you'll find the highest 5D consciousness is already here and follows you everywhere you go. When there is love in your heart, then everything outside of you also becomes lovable. Virish. We all want to be appreciated, accepted, and given great approval for who and what we are all the time. When we have connected to pure consciousness, we are naturally loving ourselves 24 hours a day. We are feeling love for who we are and loving the other, for who they are. Being loved and having our love received by another is what we are all seeking in every relationship we have. When we surrender to being lovable, we instantly find the highway to higher consciousness. When we are truly living from this feeling of being lovable, we see that it's ludicrous to believe that there is a shortage of love in the world. We see that love is found from within, and that the more you connect with this loving energy, that you truly are and feel love for yourself, the more you attract love from others, and therefore manifest amazing relationships. Consciousness can only observe what undergoes change. That which is eternal cannot be observed by consciousness or known by it. Unless you meditate on this point, the puzzle will not be solved. Nisargadatta. There is nothing separate from divinity. Every war, divorce, abuse, and negative situation we see happening in this world is deep down a convoluted, twisted expression of love masked by the mind ego. This love we see has been covered with the armor of fear and hatred because deep down it is deeply wounded. The masks we wear are always to disguise the wounds we carry. The higher consciousness inside of us is what removes the ego's mask and lets this divine love inside us come out to be visible. When we approach everyone from an understanding that love is all that we are, at the very quantum core, the illusion of separation and desperation is removed, and the ecstasy of abundance is revealed for everyone you see. Mastering the ego mind for all of us is absolutely paramount. Because all pain and suffering ends. All self-degradation ends. I've watched so many people all of a sudden just fall into that. And even though they know, even though they've practiced knowing that the ego mind can do this, it still happens to them. And they fall. And they become delusional. They believe that everything is bad, everything is destructive, like a who cares anymore type thing. This is a deep depression that the ego mind instigates. And the more you go there, the more the universe sends. So you sink deeper without realizing it because you're in such a downward spiral. Wherever you go, you will be yourself. Even in heaven or in the Himalayas, you cannot be otherwise. The world is not outside you. You are the world. So wherever you go, you take your world with you. The real change is not to be of place. The real change is not to be outside. The real change has to be inner. And what do I mean by the real change? I don't mean that you have to improve upon yourself, because improvement is, again, a lie. Improvement means you will go on polishing your personality. You can make it immensely beautiful. But remember, the more beautiful it is, the more dangerous, because the more difficult it will be to drop it. The more beautiful it is, the more dangerous, because the more difficult it will be to drop it. That's why it happens that sometimes those who miss the mark become reverent. But your so-called respectable people never become reverent. They cannot become. They have such valuable personalities, so decorated, polished. They have put so much investment into the personality, their whole life has been a kind of polishing. Now it's too costly to drop those beautiful personalities. A reverend can drop it. He has no investment in it. In fact, he is fed up with it. It is so ugly. But how can a respectable person drop it so easily? It has been paying him or her so well. It has been such a profit. It has been making him more and more respected. He is going higher and higher. He is reaching the pinnacle of success. It is very difficult for him to stop going on this ladder of success. It is an unending ladder. You can go on and on and on forever. Somebody asked Henry Ford when he was dying on his deathbed. He was still planning some new industries, some new enterprises. Somebody asked him, "Sir, you are dying." And the doctors say, "You will not survive more than a few days." They are not even certain about that. You may die today or tomorrow. Why now? And you have been doing this your whole life. And you have so much money, more than you can spend, more than you can do anything with. It is useless money. Why did you go on increasing your enterprises? For a moment, Henry Ford must have stopped his planning and he said, "Listen, I cannot stop. That is impossible. Only death will stop me. I cannot stop while I am alive. I will go on and on and on, reaching for a higher rung. I know it is meaningless, but I can't stop." When you are succeeding in this world, it is difficult to stop. When you are becoming richer, it is difficult to stop. When you are becoming famous, it is difficult to stop. The more refined personality you have, the more it clings to you. I'm not saying that you have to improve upon yourself. All the great masters from Buddha to Hakuin, nobody has said to improve. Beware of the so-called improvement books. The American market is full of those books. Beware, because improvement is not going to lead you anywhere. It is not a question of improvement, because by improvement the lie will be improved. The personality will be improved. Will become more polished. Will become more subtle. Will become more valuable. Will become more precious. But that is not the transformation. The transformation comes not from improvement, but by dropping the personality utterly. We are not the personality. The lie cannot become the truth. There is no way to improve upon the lie so that it becomes the truth. it will remain a lie. It will look more and more like the truth, but it will remain a lie. And the more it looks like the truth, the more you will be engrossed in it, rooted in it. The lie can look so much like the truth that you can even become oblivious of the fact that it is a lie. The lie tells you to search for the truth, improve your character, your personality, search for the truth, become this, become that. The lie goes on giving you new programs. Do this, and then everything will be good, and you will be happy forever. Do this, do that. This has failed. Don't be worried. The lie goes on giving you plans, and you go on moving in those plans and wasting your life. In fact, the search for truth also comes out of the lie. That will be hard to understand, but it has to be understood. The search for the truth from the lie itself. It is the lie's way to protect itself. It gives you even the search for truth. Now, how can you be angry with your personality? And how can you call it a lie? It propels you. It enforces you. It pushes you to search for truth. But the search means going away. Truth is here. And the lie pushes you to go there. And truth is now. And the lie says then and there. The lie always speaks either of the past or of the future. It never speaks of the present. And the truth is the present. This very moment, it is here, now. So the first you is the lie, the act, the pseudo-personality that surrounds you, the public face, the phoniness. It is a fraud. The society has imposed it upon you, and you have become a cooperator with it. You have to drop your cooperation with the social lie, because only when you are utterly nude are you yourself. All clothes are social. All ideas, all identities that you think you are social, given by others. They have their motives to give those ideas to you, to us all. It is subtle exploitation. The real exploitation is not economic or political. The real exploitation is psychological. That's why all the revolutions up to now have been failures. Hitherto, no revolution has succeeded. And the reason? Because they have not looked at the deepest exploitation, which is psychological. They only go on changing superficial things. A capitalist society becomes communist, but it makes no difference. A democracy becomes dictatorial. A dictatorial society becomes democratic. It makes no difference. There are just superficial changes like a whitewash, but the structure remains deep down the same. What is the psychological exploitation? The psychological exploitation is that nobody is allowed to be himself or herself. That nobody is accepted as himself or herself. That nobody is respected. How can you respect people if you don't accept them as they are? If you impose things upon them and then you respect your own impositions. You don't respect them as they are. You don't respect their nudity. You don't respect their naturalness. And you don't respect their spontaneity. You don't respect their real smiles and real tears. You respect only the phoniness, pretensions, actions. Their acting, you respect. This you one, has to be utterly dropped. Freud did do some good things. He did help greatly to make humanity aware of the pseudo-ness of the personality, of the conscious mind. His revolution is far deeper than the revolution of Marx. His revolution is far deeper than any other revolution. It goes deep, although it does not go far enough. It teaches to the second you too. It is the repressed you, instinctive you, unconscious you. It is all that the society has not allowed. It is all that the society has forced inside your being and locked in there. It comes only in your dreams. It comes only in metaphors. It comes only when you are drunk. It comes only when you are no longer in control. Otherwise, it remains far away from you, and it is more authentic. It is not phony. Freud has done much to make man aware of it, and the humanistic psychologies, and particularly growth groups, encounters, and others, have helped tremendously to make you aware of all that is screaming inside you, all that has been repressed and crushed. And that is your vital part. That is your real life, natural life. Religions have condemned it as your animal part. They have condemned it as the source of sin. And we know that the source of sin only means missing the target. It is not the source of sin. It is the source of life. And it is not lower than the consciousness. It is deeper than the consciousness. Certainly, but not lower than the consciousness. Nothing is wrong if it is animal. Animals are beautiful. So are trees. They still live naked in their utter simplicity. They have not been destroyed by the priests and the politicians. They are yet part of existence. Only man has gone astray. Man is the only abnormal animal on this earth. Otherwise, all animals are simply normal. Hence the joy, the beauty, the health. Hence the vitality. Haven't you seen it? When a bird is on the wing, have you not felt jealous? Have you not seen it in a deeper running, a deer running fast in the forest? Have you not felt jealous of the vitality, of the sheer joy of energy? Children, have you not felt jealous? Maybe that's why you go on condemning childishness, because you feel so jealous. You go on condemning. Montag is right when he says that instead of telling people, don't be childish, we should start telling people, don't be adultish. He is right, and I agree with him. A child is beautiful. The adult is what ugliness is. He is no longer a flow. He is blocked in many ways. He is frozen. He is dull and dead. He has lost zest. He has lost enthusiasm. He is simply dragging. He is bored. He has no sense of mystery. He never feels surprised. He has forgotten the language of wonder. Mystery has disappeared from him. He has explanations. Mystery is no longer there. Hence, he has lost poetry and dance and all that is valuable and all that gives meaning and significance to life, all that gives flavor to life, to this life. This second you is far more valuable than the first. That is where I am against all the religions. That is where I am against all the priests, because they cling to the first, the most superficial. Go to the second, but the second is not the end. That is where Freud falls short. And that is where humanistic psychology also falls short. Goes a little deeper than Freud, but still does not go deep enough to find the third. There is a third you, you3. The real you, the original face, which is beyond both you1 and you2, the transcendental, the Buddhahood. It is undivided pure consciousness. The first you is social. The second you is natural. The third you is divine. And remember, the first you is social, the second you is natural, the third you is divine. And remember, I'm not saying that the first is not at all useful. If the third exists, then the first can be used beautifully. If the third exists, the second can be used beautifully, but only if the third exists. If the center functions well, then the periphery, too, is okay. When the circumference, too, is okay, but only circumference without the center is a kind of a death. Only the circumference without the center is a kind of death. That's what has happened to man. That's why in the West, so many thinkers think that life is meaningless. It is not. It is only because you have lost touch with your source, from where meaning arises. It is as if a tree has lost its contact with its own roots. Now no flowers come. Now the foliage starts disappearing. The leaves fall. No new leaves arrive. And the juice stops flowing. And the sap no longer exists. And the tree becomes dead. And the tree is dying. And the tree may start philosophizing. The tree may become existentialist, a Sartre, or somebody else. And the tree may start saying that there are no flowers in life, that life has no flowers, that there is no fragrance, that there are no longer any birds. And the tree may even start saying that it has been always so, and the ancients were only befooling themselves, and that there were flowers. They were imagining. It has always been so. The spring has never come. People have only been fantasizing. These Buddhas have been simply imagining, fantasizing that flowers bloom and there is great joy and birds come and sunlight. There is nothing. All is darkness. All is accidental, and there is no meaning. The tree can say it. And the real thing is not that there is no meaning, not that there are no longer flowers, not that the flowers don't exist, not that the fragrance is a fantasy, but simply that the tree has lost contact with its own roots. Unless you are rooted in your Buddhahood, you will not bloom. You will not sing. You will not know what celebration is. And how can you know God if you don't know celebration? If you have forgotten how to dance, how can you pray? If you have forgotten how to sing and how to love, then God is dead. Not that God is dead. God is dead in you, only in you. Your tree is dry. The sap has disappeared. You will have to find roots again. Where to find these roots? The roots have to be found here and now, and only in the now. There was a little polar bear who asked his mother, "Was my daddy also a polar bear?" "Of course your daddy was a polar bear." "But," goes on the little one after a while, "Mommy, just tell me, was my grandfather also a polar bear?" "Yes, he was also a polar bear." Time goes by and the little one keeps asking his mother, "But what about my great-grandfather? Was he a polar bear as well?" "Yes, he was." "But why are you asking?" "Because I'm freezing. I was told my father was a polar bear. I was told my grandfather was a polar bear. I was told my great-grandfather was a polar bear, but I am freezing. How can I change this? I happen to know your father, and I happen to know your grandfather, and I happen to know your great-grandfather too. And they were also freezing, and their mothers were telling them the same story to them. Your father was a polar bear, and your grandfather was a polar bear, and your great-grandfather was a polar bear. If you are freezing, you are freezing. These stories won't help. This simply proves that even polar bears freeze. Look at the reality. Don't move into traditions, and don't go into the past. If you are freezing, you are freezing. And this is not a consolation at all that you are a polar bear. These consolations have been given to humanity. When you are dying, you are dying. Somebody comes and says, don't be afraid, the soul is immortal. Now you are dying. A man is dying, and you console him. And that soul is immortal. These consolations are of no help. Somebody is in misery, and you tell him, don't be miserable. It is just psychological. How does it help? You make him even more miserable. These theories are not of much help. They have been invented to console, to deceive. If you are freezing, you are freezing. Rather than asking whether your father was a polar bear, do some exercise. Jump, jog, do dynamic meditation, and you won't freeze. I promise you. Forget all about your father and grandfather and great-grandfather. Just listen to your reality. If you are freezing, then do something. And something can always be done. But this is no way. You are on a wrong track. You can go on asking and asking and asking, and of course, the poor mother goes on consoling you. The question is beautiful, very meaningful, has tremendous import. This is how humanity is suffering. Listen to suffering. Look into the problem. Don't try to find any solutions outside the problem. Look directly into the problem, and you will always find the solution there. Look into the question. Don't ask for the answer. For example, you can go on asking, who am I? You can go to the Christian, and he will say, you are the Son of God, and God loves you very much. And you will be puzzled, because how can God love you? A priest told Mullah Nasruddin, God loves you very much. He said, how can he love me? He does not even know me. And the priest said, that's why he can love you. We know you. We cannot love you. It is too difficult. Or you go to the Hindus and ask, and they say, you are God himself. Not the Son of God. You are God himself. But still, you have your headache and your migraine, and you are very puzzled at how God can have a migraine. It doesn't solve the problem. If you want to ask, who am I? Don't go to anybody. Sit silently. Ask deeper into your own being. Let the question resound. Not verbally, existentially. Let the question be there like an arrow piercing your heart. Who am I? And go with the question. And don't be in a hurry to answer it. Because if you answer it, the answer must have come from somebody else. Some priest, some politician, some tradition. Don't answer from your memory, because your memory is all borrowed. Your memory is just like a computer. Very, very, very dead. Your memory has nothing to do with knowing. It has been fed into you. So when you ask, who am I? And your memory says, you are a great soul, watch out. Don't fall into the trap. Just discard all this rubbish. It is all rot. Just go on asking, who am I? Who am I? Who are I? Who am I? And one day, you will see the question, too, has disappeared. There is only a thirst left. Who am I? Not the question, really, but a thirst. Your whole being throbbing with the thirst. Who am I? And one day, you will see that not even you are there. There is only thirst. And in that intense, passionate state of your being, suddenly, you will realize something has exploded. Suddenly, you have come face to face with yourself, and you know who you are. There is no way to ask your father, who am I? He does not know himself, who he is. There is no way to ask your grandfather or great-grandfather. Don't ask. Don't ask your mother. Don't ask the society. Don't ask the culture. Don't ask the civilization. Ask your own innermost core. If you really want to come to know the answer, go inward. And from that inward experience, change happens. You ask, how can I change this? You cannot change it. First, you have to face your reality. And that very encounter will change you. A reporter was trying to get a human interest story out of an old man at a state-approved and supported home for the aged. Pop, asked the brash reporter, how would you feel if you suddenly got a letter telling you that a forgotten relative had left you $5 million? Son, came the answer slowly, I would still be 94 years old. Do you get it? The old man is saying, I am 94 years old. Even if I get $5 million, what am I supposed to do with it? I still will be 94 years old. What Buddha says, what Mahavira says, what Christ says is of no help to you. You are freezing. You are still 94 years old. Even if all the knowledge of the world is poured into your head, it is not going to help. You are still freezing. You are still 94 years old. Unless some experience arises in you, some vital experience that transforms your being, and you become young again, alive again, nothing is of any value. So don't ask others. That is the first lesson to be learned. Ask yourself. And then to remember, because others have put answers there already, so those answers will be coming. Avoid those answers. The question is yours. So nobody else's answer can be of any help. The question is yours. The answer has to be yours too. Buddha has drunk and he is satisfied. Jesus is drunk and he is satisfied. He is ecstatic. I have drunk. But how is that going to help your thirst? You will have to drink yourself. It happened, a great Sufi mystic was asked by an emperor to come to his court and pray for them. The mystic came, but he refused to pray. He said, it is impossible. How can I pray for you, said the mystic. There are a few things one has to do oneself. For example, if you want to make love to a woman, you have to do it yourself. I cannot do it for you on your behalf. Or if you have to blow your nose, you have to blow it yourself. I cannot blow my nose on your behalf. That won't be of any help. And so is prayer. How can I pray for you? You pray, I can pray for myself. And he closed his eyes and moved into great prayer. That's what I can do. For me, the problems have disappeared. But it has not disappeared through anybody else's answer. I have not asked anybody. In fact, the whole effort has been to drop all the answers that others have given very generously. People go on giving you advice. They are very generous in their advice. They may not be generous in anything else, but in advice, they are very generous. Great people. Whether you ask or not, They go on giving advice. Advice is the only thing that is given so much and that is never taken. Nobody takes it. There were two bums sitting under a tree. One was saying, I landed in this state because I never listened to anybody's advice. And the other said, brother, I landed here because I followed everybody's advice. The journey has to be your own. You are freezing, I know. You are miserable, I know. Life is hard, I know. I have no consolation for you. I don't believe in consoling you because all consolation becomes a postponement. The mother says to the child bear, yes, your father was a polar bear, and for a little while he tries not to freeze because the polar bears are not supposed to freeze, but it doesn't help. Again, he asks his mother, was my grandfather also a polar bear? He is trying to know. Was there something in my heritage that I had done or gone wrong? Is that why I'm freezing? And the mother says, yes, your grandfather was also a polar bear. And again, he tries to postpone freezing, but you cannot postpone it. You can delay a little. Again, it is there. Reality cannot be avoided. Theories are of no help at all. Forget theories and listen to the fact. You are miserable? Then misery has to be looked into. You are angry? Then anger has to be looked into. You feel sexual? Then forget what others say about it. Just look into yourself. It is your life. You have to live it. Don't borrow. Never be second hand. Existence loves people who are first hand. It has never been known to love carbon copies. You just be first hand. Be original. Be unique. Be individual. Be yourself. And look into your problem. And there is only one thing I can say to you. In your problem, there is hidden the solution. The problem is just a seed. If and when you go into it deeply, the solution will sprout out of it. Your ignorance is the seed. If you go deeply into it, knowledge will flower out of it. Your shivering, your freezing is the problem. Go into it, and warmth will arise out of it. In fact, all is given to you, both question and answer, both the problem and solution, both ignorance and knowledge. You just have to look inward. I'll join you in the meditation, and I'll return to close us out. Take an easy and slow breath in through the nose, and take an easy and slow breath out of the mouth, and remain still. Uncontrollable mental chatter is the cause of all suffering in your life. The moment you stop the mind, for even a few minutes, a powerful peace-filled energy arises inside you. Try it and see. To become the divine observer of your mind and step back from the 60,000 plus thoughts that run through your head each day, simply choose to become the ever-present, witnessing observer of each experience. Choose to be vigilantly aware of this ever-present observer of your mind can make the typical tragic, dramatic day transform into a harmonic symphony of joy and love. For today, devote all your energy to watching the incessant chatter happening inside your mind without buying into its drama. It doesn't matter what the mind does today. Just be a super observer and watch with amazement. If you get tangled up in some important thoughts, don't try to stop them, change them, or participate in them. Simply sit back, even deeper behind your mind, and relax your body. You can find it extremely entertaining to simply watch, listen, and have a good laugh all day long. Take this with you for the rest of the day, into the evening and night and the following morning, and we will return Sunday, October 23rd, 2022, 3 p.m. Eastern, to continue our global guided meditation call, and be good to yourself.